Picture this. You're standing in front of someone who has disappointed you deeply. Maybe they broke a promise, ignored your efforts, or treated you with disrespect. Your heart is pounding, your mind is racing, and every fiber of your being wants to explain yourself, to chase after their approval, to beg for their understanding. But what if I told you that in that exact moment, your silence could be more powerful than 1,000 words? What if walking away could command more respect than any explanation you could ever give? Today, we're diving into 3 ancient Stoic principles that will transform how you handle disrespect, disappointment, and difficult people forever. No begging, no chasing, no explaining. These aren't just catchy phrases, they're battle-tested rules that have guided warriors, emperors, and philosophers through the most challenging moments of their lives. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why dignity is your greatest weapon and why the most powerful response is often no response at all. But first, let me share something that changed everything for me. It took me years to realize that every time I begged for someone's attention, chased after their approval, or over-explained my actions, I was actually teaching them how little I valued myself. I was handing over my power on a silver platter and wondering why I felt so empty afterward. The Stoics understood something profound about human nature. They knew that respect isn't something you can demand or negotiate for. It's something you earn through your actions and protect through your boundaries. These ancient philosophers faced exile, death, and the collapse of empires, yet they maintained their dignity because they understood these 3 fundamental truths we're about to explore. Rule number 1. Never beg for what should be freely given. There's something deeply unsettling about watching someone plead for basic respect or consideration. Maybe you've witnessed it at work when a colleague desperately tries to convince everyone they deserve recognition. Perhaps you've seen it in relationships where someone constantly asks for love and attention that never comes. The truth is harsh, but liberating. Anything you have to beg for isn't worth having. Think about the most respected people you know. Do they beg for opportunities? Do they plead for friendship? Do they constantly ask others to value their time? Of course not. They carry themselves with quiet confidence that naturally draws respect without demanding it. When you beg, you immediately place yourself in a position of weakness. You're essentially telling the other person that their opinion of you matters more than your own self-respect. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're at a dinner party and someone consistently interrupts you, dismisses your ideas, or makes you feel invisible. The begging approach would be to keep trying harder, speaking louder, or directly asking them to listen to you. But what happens instead? You look desperate, they feel empowered to continue their behavior, and everyone else becomes uncomfortable watching the dynamic unfold. Now imagine a different scenario. Someone disrespects you, and instead of begging for their attention, you simply redirect your energy to those who value what you bring to the table. You continue your conversation with someone else, or you politely excuse yourself from the situation entirely. Your silence speaks volumes. Your dignity remains intact, and often the person who was dismissing you suddenly becomes curious about why their behavior didn't affect you. This principle extends far beyond social situations. In your career, never beg for promotions, opportunities, or recognition. Instead, consistently deliver excellent work and let your results speak for themselves. If your efforts aren't valued in one place, find somewhere they are. In relationships, never beg for love, attention, or commitment. Either someone chooses to give these things willingly, or they don't truly value what you offer. The moment you start begging, you've already lost. You've shifted from being an equal participant to being someone who needs something from them more than they need something from you. This imbalance corrupts the entire dynamic and makes genuine respect impossible. But here's what most people misunderstand about this rule. Not begging doesn't mean being passive or giving up on what you want. It means pursuing your goals with dignity and self-respect. It means making clear requests when appropriate, but accepting the answer gracefully. It means knowing your worth so deeply that you'd rather walk away empty-handed than compromise your dignity. When you stop begging, something magical happens. People start paying attention to what you do instead of what you say. They notice your consistency, your principles, and your unwavering sense of self-worth. And paradoxically, the things you stopped begging for often start coming to you naturally because you've become someone worth respecting. Rule number 2, stop chasing people who don't choose you. There's a beautiful truth hidden in nature that applies perfectly to human relationships. Water doesn't chase anything. It simply flows toward the lowest point, following the path of least resistance. When water encounters the obstacle, it doesn't force its way through. It finds another route or waits patiently until conditions change. Yet water is one of the most powerful forces on Earth, capable of carving through mountains and shaping entire landscapes. You must learn to be like water in your relationships. Stop chasing people who consistently show you through their actions that they don't want to be caught. This doesn't mean giving up on people you care about during difficult times. It means recognizing the difference between someone going through a temporary struggle and someone who simply doesn't value your presence in their life. Think about the energy you've wasted over the years chasing people who were always one step ahead of you, just out of reach. The friend who never initiates contact but always seems happy to hear from you. The romantic interest who gives you just enough attention to keep you interested but never enough to make you feel secure. The family member who only reaches out when they need something. The colleague who takes credit for your ideas but never acknowledges your contributions. When you chase people, you teach them that your time and energy are less valuable than theirs. You create an imbalanced dynamic where they hold all the power and you're constantly trying to earn something that should be mutual. This exhausts you and often pushes them further away because desperation is deeply unattractive to most people. Here's a revolutionary concept. What if instead of chasing people who don't choose you, you invested that same energy in those who do? What if you focused on building deeper connections with people who genuinely want you in their lives? What if you spent time developing yourself instead of trying to convince others of your worth? I've learned that the people worth having in your life will make space for you without being asked. They'll initiate conversations, make plans, and show genuine interest in your well-being. They won't leave you guessing about where you stand because they'll make it clear through their consistent actions that they value your relationship. This doesn't mean you should never make the first move or reach out to people you care about. It means paying attention to the response you receive and adjusting your energy accordingly. If someone consistently takes days to respond to your messages, rarely makes time for you, or seems distracted when you're together, they're telling you something important about their priorities. Listen to what they're showing you instead of what they're saying. The most liberating realization you can have is that you don't need to convince anyone to want you in their life. The right people will recognize your value naturally and will make efforts to maintain the connection. Those who don't aren't necessarily bad people, but they're not your people. When you stop chasing, you create space for the right relationships to develop naturally. You also develop a stronger sense of self-worth because you're no longer defining your value based on other people's willingness to give you attention. You become someone who attracts rather than pursues, someone who draws people in through your own magnetic presence rather than exhausting yourself in pursuit of those who are running away. The energy you save by not chasing becomes available for something far more valuable. Building yourself into the kind of person others naturally gravitate toward. When you're not constantly focused on pursuing people who don't want to be caught, you can invest in your own growth, your own interests, and your own peace of mind. You become centered, grounded, and genuinely content with your own company. And that kind of inner stability is magnetic. Think of it this way. Have you ever noticed how the most attractive people, whether romantically or socially, are often those who seem perfectly fine alone? They're not desperately seeking validation or constantly looking over their shoulder to see who's paying attention to them. They're engaged in their own lives, pursuing their own goals and radiating a quiet confidence that draws others in naturally. This principle applies everywhere. In business, stop chasing clients who string you along with promises but never commit. Focus your energy on serving those who value what you offer and are willing to pay fairly for it. In friendships, stop being the one who always initiates plans with people who seem perpetually busy when you reach out. Invest in friendships with people who are equally excited to spend time with you. The beautiful paradox is that when you stop chasing, you often become more attractive to the very people who were running from you. But by then, you've usually realized you don't need them anymore. You've discovered the peace that comes from surrounding yourself with people who choose you just as enthusiastically as you choose them. Rule number 3. Your actions speak louder than your explanations. Here's where most people completely sabotage themselves. They believe that if they can just explain their position clearly enough, if they can just find the right words, if they can just make the other person understand their perspective, everything will be resolved. So they talk and talk and talk, desperately trying to justify their choices, defend their character, or convince someone to see things their way. But here's what actually happens when you over-explain. You appear weak, defensive, and insecure. You give the impression that you're not confident in your own decisions. You hand over your power to someone else and allow them to become the judge of whether your choices are acceptable. Most importantly, you teach people that your actions aren't enough to speak for themselves. The Stoics understood that a person of character doesn't need to constantly defend their character. Their reputation is built through consistent actions over time, not through eloquent explanations after controversial decisions. When Marcus Aurelius made difficult choices as emperor, he didn't spend his time trying to convince every critic that he was right. He focused on governing with wisdom and integrity, trusting that his actions would ultimately speak for themselves. Let me share a scenario that illustrates this perfectly. Imagine you decide to end a toxic friendship. The over-explaining approach would involve a lengthy conversation detailing every reason why the friendship isn't working, providing examples of hurtful behavior, and trying to make the other person understand your decision. You might even apologize repeatedly while explaining, hoping to soften the blow and maintain some semblance of goodwill. But what message does this send? It suggests that your decision isn't valid unless they approve of it. It opens the door for them to argue with your reasoning, manipulate you into changing your mind, or make you feel guilty for your choice. It turns what should be a firm boundary into a negotiation where your peace of mind is up for debate. The Stoic approach is radically different. You make your decision based on your values and what's best for your well-being, and then you act on it with quiet confidence. If an explanation is necessary, you keep it brief and factual. You might simply say something like, "I've decided I need to step back from this friendship. I wish you well." Then you follow through with your actions regardless of their response. This isn't about being cruel or dismissive. It's about respecting yourself enough to make decisions without requiring external validation. It's about understanding that people who truly care about your well-being will respect your choices, even if they don't fully understand them. Those who don't respect your choices are often the very people you need boundaries from in the first place. The same principle applies in every area of life. At work, if you decide to leave a position, you don't owe anyone a dissertation on why the company culture doesn't align with your values or how your manager's communication style affects your productivity. A simple professional explanation is sufficient. Your departure speaks for itself. In romantic relationships, if you choose to end things, you don't need to provide a comprehensive analysis of every incompatibility or relationship dynamic that led to your decision. The fact that you're choosing to leave should be explanation enough for someone who respects your autonomy. When you stop over-explaining, something powerful happens. People start taking your words and decisions more seriously. They realize that when you speak, you mean what you say, and when you act, you've thought it through carefully. You become someone whose boundaries are respected because you've demonstrated that you don't negotiate them away through lengthy justifications. But perhaps most importantly, you free yourself from the exhausting burden of constantly defending your choices. You make decisions based on your values and intuition, and then you trust yourself enough to stand by them. This kind of self-assurance is rare in a world where most people are constantly seeking approval and validation from others. Your character is not built through explanations. It's built through consistent actions over time. When you live with integrity, treat others with respect, and make thoughtful decisions, these actions create a reputation that speaks far louder than any words could. People who matter will notice your character through what you do, not through what you say about what you do. The people who demand constant explanations and justifications are often the same people who will never be satisfied with any explanation you provide. They're not seeking understanding, they're seeking control. They want to make you doubt yourself, question your decisions, and ultimately submit to their judgment. When you refuse to play this game, you reclaim your power and demonstrate that your choices don't require their approval. This doesn't mean you should never explain your decisions or communicate your reasoning when appropriate. It means being intentional about when and how you explain yourself. Save your explanations for people who have earned the right to understand your thought process through their consistent respect and support. Don't waste your breath trying to justify yourself to people who have already made up their minds about you, or who are looking for reasons to criticize your choices. Remember, the goal isn't to become cold or disconnected from others. It's to develop the kind of unshakable inner strength that allows you to navigate relationships from a place of wholeness rather than need. When you embody these principles, you naturally attract people who appreciate authenticity and strength, while repelling those who are drawn to weakness and drama. The ancient Stoics faced persecution, exile, and death threats, yet they maintained their dignity because they understood something fundamental about human nature. People respect what they cannot easily manipulate or control. When you refuse to beg, chase, or over-explain, you become someone who operates from a position of strength rather than desperation. But here's where most people struggle with these concepts. They worry that following these rules will make them seem heartless or uncaring. They fear that not chasing will mean losing people they love, that not explaining will make them appear arrogant, that not begging will leave them empty-handed. These fears are understandable, but they're based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what these principles actually accomplish. When you stop begging for respect, you don't become disrespectful. You become self-respecting. When you stop chasing people who don't value you, you don't become antisocial. You become selective about where you invest your precious energy. When you stop over-explaining your decisions, you don't become mysterious or difficult. You become confident in your own judgment. Let me tell you what really happens when you consistently apply these principles. First, you develop an unshakable sense of inner peace. You stop living in constant anxiety about what others think of you or whether they approve of your choices. You make decisions based on your own values and wisdom, then move forward with quiet confidence. Second, you attract higher quality relationships. People who are drawn to your strength and authenticity will naturally gravitate toward you. Those who prefer drama, manipulation, or control will find you less appealing, which is exactly what you want. You'll discover that meaningful connections develop more easily when you're not desperately trying to force them. Third, you become incredibly efficient with your time and energy. Instead of exhausting yourself in pursuit of people who don't want to be caught, you invest in relationships that flow naturally and reciprocally. Instead of spending hours crafting the perfect explanation for every decision, you act with purpose and let your choices speak for themselves. Fourth, you develop genuine self-respect. This isn't arrogance or superiority. It's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth isn't dependent on external validation. You become someone who can stand alone if necessary, which paradoxically makes you more attractive to others. But perhaps most importantly, you break free from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval and validation from people who may never give it. You realize that your happiness and sense of worth come from within, not from convincing others to see your value. Now let's address the elephant in the room. How do you actually implement these principles without becoming a cold, distant person? The key is understanding the difference between boundaries and walls. Boundaries are healthy limits that protect your energy and well-being while still allowing for genuine connection. Walls are defensive barriers that keep everyone at a distance out of fear or past hurt. When you apply these Stoic rules correctly, you're setting boundaries, not building walls. You're saying, I value myself enough to require mutual respect in my relationships, but I'm open to meaningful connections with people who share that value. You're not shutting people out. You're creating space for the right people to enter your life. Consider how this looks in practice. If someone consistently cancels plans at the last minute, the boundary approach is to stop making yourself available for future plans while remaining cordial when you interact. You're not punishing them or being passive-aggressive. You're simply protecting your time and energy for more reliable people. If someone repeatedly criticizes your life choices, the boundary approach is to stop sharing personal information with them while maintaining basic respect in your interactions. You're not cutting them off completely unless necessary. You're just protecting yourself from their negativity. If someone only contacts you when they need something, the boundary approach is to be polite but unavailable for their requests while continuing to be friendly in other contexts. You're teaching them that the relationship needs to be mutually beneficial to continue. These principles also require you to examine your own motivations honestly. Are you begging because you genuinely believe in what you're asking for? Or because you're afraid of being alone? Are you chasing someone because you truly value the relationship or because you can't accept rejection? Are you over-explaining because you want to be understood or because you need everyone to approve of your choices? Self-awareness is crucial because these behaviors often stem from deeper insecurities or fears. If you find yourself constantly begging, chasing, or over-explaining, it might be time to explore what's driving those impulses. Often it's a fear of abandonment, a need for external validation, or a belief that your worth is tied to other people's approval. The beautiful thing about adopting these Stoic principles is that they force you to confront these underlying issues and develop genuine self-confidence. When you stop seeking validation from others, you have no choice but to find it within yourself. When you stop chasing people who don't want you, you're forced to become comfortable with your own company. When you stop over-explaining your choices, you learn to trust your own judgment. This process isn't always comfortable. In fact, it can be quite challenging at first. You might feel lonely when you stop chasing people who were giving you minimal attention. You might feel misunderstood when you stop explaining every decision to people who weren't really listening anyway. You might feel uncertain when you stop begging for reassurance about your choices, but here's what happens on the other side of that discomfort. You discover that you're stronger than you thought. You realize that you can handle being alone better than you can handle being disrespected. You learn that being misunderstood by the wrong people is preferable to being understood by them. You find that trusting yourself feels better than constantly seeking approval from others. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you make a conscious decision to value your peace more than other people's opinions. It starts when you choose dignity over desperation, self-respect over external validation, and authentic connection over forced relationships. Let me share something that might surprise you. The people who will respect these boundaries the most are often the ones you least expect. That colleague who seemed intimidating will suddenly start treating you as an equal when you stop seeking their approval. That friend who took you for granted will begin making more effort when you stop being constantly available. That family member who dismissed your opinions will start listening when you stop over-explaining your position. This happens because human psychology is wired to value what seems scarce and take for granted what seems abundant. When you make yourself constantly available, constantly explaining, constantly seeking approval, you signal that your time and attention have little value. When you become more selective with these resources, people naturally begin to see them as more precious. But here's the crucial part that separates wise application of these principles from cold manipulation. Your motivation must come from genuine self-respect, not from a desire to control others or get revenge. The goal isn't to make people chase you or beg for your attention. The goal is to create space for authentic relationships, built on mutual respect and genuine interest. Think of these principles as a filter, not as a weapon. They help you identify which relationships are worth your energy and which ones are draining your life force. When you stop begging, chasing, and over-explaining, you create clarity. You can see which people value you for who you are and which ones only valued what you could do for them. This clarity is both liberating and sometimes painful. You might discover that certain friendships were more one-sided than you realized. You might find that some people only kept you around because you made them feel important or superior. You might learn that certain family members or colleagues respected you less than you thought they did. These realizations can sting, but they're also incredibly valuable. They free you from investing emotional energy in relationships that were never going to fulfill you. They help you redirect that energy toward people who appreciate your authentic self. They teach you to recognize red flags early in new relationships. The Stoics believed that pain was often the price of wisdom, and nowhere is this more true than in learning to apply these principles. But the wisdom you gain is worth every moment of discomfort. You learn to distinguish between people who add value to your life and people who subtract from it. You develop the courage to walk away from situations that don't serve your highest good. You discover that your own company is not only tolerable but actually enjoyable. As you embody these principles more consistently, you'll notice shifts in how people perceive and interact with you. Conversations become more meaningful because people know you won't tolerate superficial small talk indefinitely. Requests for your time become more thoughtful because people realize they need to present genuine value in exchange for your attention. Conflicts resolve more quickly because people understand that you won't engage in endless circular arguments. You'll also notice changes in your own behavior and mindset. Decision-making becomes easier because you're no longer paralyzed by the need to please everyone. Stress decreases because you're not constantly managing other people's emotions or trying to control their opinions of you. Confidence grows because every time you honor your boundaries, you prove to yourself that you're worth protecting. Perhaps most importantly, you'll start attracting people who operate from the same principles. When you demonstrate that you value respect, authenticity, and reciprocity, you naturally draw others who share those values. These relationships feel different from the ones you had before. They're based on genuine appreciation rather than need, on mutual choice rather than obligation, on shared values rather than convenience. But implementing these principles requires constant vigilance, especially in the beginning. Your old patterns of begging, chasing, and over-explaining developed over years, possibly decades. They won't disappear overnight simply because you understand intellectually why they don't serve you. You'll find yourself in situations where every instinct screams at you to explain yourself, to chase after someone's approval, to beg for understanding. In those moments, you must remember that your discomfort is temporary. But the respect you earn by maintaining your boundaries is lasting. The short-term awkwardness of not explaining yourself is worth the long-term peace of being understood by the right people. You'll encounter people who try to guilt you for not being as available as you once were, who question your new boundaries, who attempt to pull you back into old patterns of interaction. These reactions often come from people who benefited from your previous lack of boundaries. Their discomfort with your growth is actually confirmation that you're moving in the right direction. Remember, you're not obligated to make everyone comfortable with your evolution. You're not required to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were too small for your authentic self. You don't need to apologize for developing standards and sticking to them. The ancient Stoics faced far greater challenges than most of us will ever encounter. Yet they maintained their principles because they understood that external circumstances don't determine internal peace. Your worth isn't decided by popular vote. Your value doesn't fluctuate based on other people's moods or opinions. Your dignity can't be taken from you unless you voluntarily surrender it. When you truly internalize this understanding, you become unshakable. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you know that your core self remains intact regardless of how others treat you. You develop what the Stoics called an inner citadel, a fortress of self-respect that no external force can breach. This inner strength radiates outward in ways you might not even notice. You carry yourself differently. You speak with more conviction. You make decisions with greater clarity. People sense this strength even if they can't articulate what's different about you. They treat you with more respect because you've demonstrated that you respect yourself. As we near the end of our exploration of these three fundamental rules, remember that knowledge without application is merely entertainment. Understanding these principles intellectually is only the first step. The real transformation happens when you begin implementing them consistently, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when others resist your changes, even when you doubt yourself. The path forward requires courage, but it's the kind of courage that grows stronger with practice. Each time you choose dignity over desperation, you make the next choice easier. Each time you walk away from someone who doesn't value you, you create space for someone who will. Each time you let your actions speak instead of your explanations, you build a reputation that precedes you. These aren't just strategies for dealing with difficult people. They're principles for living a life of authenticity, purpose, and genuine self-respect. They're tools for building relationships that nourish your soul rather than drain your energy. They're keys to unlocking a version of yourself that you may have forgotten existed beneath years of people-pleasing and boundary crossing. The moment you decide to live by these three principles, everything changes, not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger. You stop wasting energy on people who don't deserve it. You stop explaining yourself to those who aren't truly listening. You stop begging for what should flow naturally from genuine respect. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming wise. It's about understanding that your peace is more valuable than anyone's approval. Your dignity more important than their comfort. Your self-respect more crucial than their opinion. When you embrace these ancient truths, you join the ranks of those who cannot be easily shaken, manipulated, or controlled. The Stoics knew that true strength comes from within, not from external validation. They understood that respect is earned through consistent action, not desperate words. They recognized that the most powerful position is one where you need nothing from anyone else because you've learned to value yourself completely. So tomorrow morning, when someone tests your boundaries, remember these words. When the urge to explain yourself rises, choose silence. When the temptation to chase appears, choose stillness. When the desire to beg emerges, choose dignity, because in those moments you're not just protecting your peace. You're building the kind of character that commands respect without demanding it, attracts genuine connection without forcing it, and creates a life of authenticity without compromising it. That's the true power of living by these timeless principles.